The real thing that will grow your confidence are all the moments where you don't feel amazing, where you get knocked down, where you become the I can't version of yourself, and you are able to quickly pull yourself up by your psychological bootstraps and show up strong, even though the moment felt emotionally difficult. There is nothing that will make you feel more powerful and more in control as a leader than the ability to do that. Welcome to The Art of Speaking Up, a podcast that helps professional women access the limitless potential that lies within them. I'm your host, Jessica Guzik, and my mission is to help you find that spark inside you that has the power to transform your career in ways you may not have thought possible. I'm so excited that you're here. And now, on to the show. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's episode is all about deepening your belief that you can do it. Whatever goal you are working on, whether it's the goal of feeling more confident, the goal of speaking up crisply and effectively when you're in work meetings and conversations, literally doesn't matter what the goal is. Anytime that you are transforming and building a new capability, the most important thing that will determine how quickly you build that new capability is how deeply you believe in yourself. Our belief in ourselves is one of the most potent drivers of how quickly we grow. And I am sure that you have had the experience of struggling to believe in yourself consistently. The reason I say that I'm sure that you've had this experience is because this is a universal experience that we all have whenever we are trying to develop a capability that is newer for us and that represents growth for us. And what I'm going to be teaching you today is how to navigate the fluctuations in self-belief that typically happen when we are reaching for something new. The key to actually growing in the way that you want to grow isn't to never doubt yourself and never be in that place of, I don't know if I can do it. The key is actually to be aware of the fact that it's normal to swing back and forth between believing you can and believing you can't, and to play a proactive role in managing that experience so that the self-doubt doesn't prevent you from showing up as your best self and giving 100% to your growth process. That is what I'm going to teach you how to do in today's episode, and I'm going to share a really quick but time-sensitive announcement before I go deeper. And that announcement is that my signature program, the Art of Speaking Up Academy, is opening for enrollment this Friday. That is Friday, December 5th. Inside of the Art of Speaking Up Academy, I will help you with two things. Number one, doing the deep inner work to build unshakable self-confidence. And number two, doing the professional development work you need to do to develop a strong executive presence and rock solid communication skills so that you can speak up powerfully and represent your thoughts super effectively at work. If you are ready to develop a confident voice that gets you noticed for the impact that you are making, then mark your calendar. Applications open this Friday. To learn more about this program, tune into episode 391. In this episode, I do a deep dive and I cover who this program is for, how it will help you build confidence and learn to speak up super effectively, and what it is like once you're inside the program. You'll find episode 391 at the very top of the podcast feed. And when you're ready to apply, click the link in the show notes or go to jessguzikcoaching.com/academy. Remember, applications open December 5th. And with that, I want to go deeper into the theme of today's episode, which is helping you stay consistent in your belief that you are capable of growth and change. The first thing that I want to teach you is a very simple framework. The framework is called I can, versus I can't. And the idea behind this framework is that there are two versions of you. There's the I can version, and there's also the I can't version. So let's start with the I can version of you. This is the version of you who believes that you are capable of growth and change. This version of you believes that your confidence can grow beyond where it is today, that you can learn to speak effectively, even in situations where that feels very hard for you. And typically, you will become this version of you anytime you have a big win or a moment of success or a big breakthrough. So I'll share an example from when I was in my 9-to-5 career before I became a podcaster. If you've listened to this podcast for a while, you probably know that the whole reason that I do this podcast and started it is because I went through a massive struggle with my self-confidence. And I remember when I was struggling, how good it felt to have a win. So maybe I would lead a meeting and it would actually go well. Like I would actually successfully lead an intimidating room of leaders through my agenda. And I would leave that meeting on this amazingly exuberant high. And I would leave that meeting as the I can version of myself. I would feel deep, genuine belief that I was capable of being a leader and showing up strong, even in this challenging professional environment. And I remember whenever I was in that headspace, it felt like my perspective was completely shifted. All of a sudden, I felt motivated and energized because I was focused on what I had accomplished and all of the good, exciting things that I believed were possible for me. So that is a little bit of a glimpse of what it's like when you're in the I can version of yourself. You feel proud of your wins. You believe that you can keep growing. And you feel this optimistic, hopeful, emotional stir inside of you that has you asking yourself, but what if I actually can? Now, the most important thing to be aware of is that that version of you creates results the fastest. So whatever goal you're working on, the goal of self-confidence, the goal of speaking up effectively, when you are showing up as the I can version of yourself who is motivated and energized and in full belief of your capabilities, you also grow more quickly. This is because your belief drives you to take action and to step outside your comfort zone, and all of those decisions compound over time to speed up your growth process. Now, I also want to talk about the flip side, which is the I can't version of you. So unfortunately, it's not all roses and daisies and unicorns and butterflies, and anyone who has embarked on any sort of real process of inner growth and transformation knows that we don't always believe that we can. And when things get hard, we swing into this other version of us that I call the I can't version. This is the version of us who doubts that we are capable of change, who is afraid that there is something about us that will keep us inherently stuck, and who routinely asks ourselves, why am I even trying? What's the point? Because what is the point of trying if we don't actually believe that the growth is possible? There are a few different circumstances that will cause us to become the I can't version of ourselves, but the most noticeable one by far is after we fail or after we encounter an obstacle. So I will never forget this moment in my corporate career. There were many moments like this, but this is one of the many moments where I was struggling. I was in a meeting where I was not expecting to speak, and a very senior leader called on me and asked me to present a slide that I was thoroughly unprepared to present. I didn't have the confidence or the skill set to navigate that situation. And when I spoke, I don't even know how to describe what came out of my mouth, but my words were so jumbled and I was so incomprehensible that someone in the room actually got up and brought me a cup of water because they were wondering if I couldn't physically speak. It was just a really bad fail. And I left that meeting as the I can't version of me. I felt discouraged. I felt humiliated. And in that moment, I believed that the performance that I had given in that room was the most that I could ever be capable of. I believed I was stuck. There must be just something wrong with me, that something that awful could happen. And my motivation to keep going completely drained from my body. Because what's the point of trying if we can't get past this very difficult stuck point that we keep encountering? So that's a little bit about my I can't version. And your I can't version might not be as despairing and as dramatic as mine was. We all have different internal experiences. But one thing that characterizes the I can't version of you is that this version of you doesn't believe that you can grow past where you currently are. It either doesn't believe or it doubts and questions that idea heavily. The reason it's important for us to be aware of when we slip into the I can't version of ourselves is because that version of ourselves is not great at creating the change that we are trying to create. When we lack motivation and we lack belief, we are not effective catalysts of our own process of growth. So here's how I want you to think about this. There is a goal that you are working on, and you prefer to get to that goal sooner rather than later. I want you to imagine that when you're in the I can version of yourself, you are moving towards that goal quickly. It's like you're driving down an open highway where there is zero traffic and you're putting your foot on the gas and watching the odometer go up and up and up. I was doing that the other day. It was thrilling. Don't tell anyone. I was speeding, but I was being safe. It was fine. But anyway, when you're the I can version of yourself, you're moving at a higher speed. Whereas when you're the I can't version of yourself, it's as if you are driving through an alleyway that is filled with clunky potholes, and you have to drive at an insanely slow speed so that you don't wreck your car. That's what it's like when you're the I can't version of yourself and you're trying to achieve your goals. So if it's important for you to make real progress towards the goals that matter most to you, then it's also important for you to monitor how much time you're spending as the I can version of yourself versus as the I can't version of yourself, because the more time you spend as the I can version of yourself, the faster you grow. Now, for many of us, and I know this was something I got really, really stuck in, we don't realize that we have the option to take control of the swinging back and forth between I can't and I can. We think that it's just happening to us. So the way that we often experience it from a psychological perspective is it feels as though we are holding onto a rope and hanging from that rope, and someone above us is swinging and thrashing the rope around violently. And as a result, we are being thrashed around and we're experiencing whiplash as we are swung back and forth between the I can and the I can't version of ourselves. And this back and forth swinging can make us feel emotionally exhausted and overwhelmed. And of course, we struggle to be consistent in our growth process. If you relate to this, one of the most powerful things that you can do, not just in your career, but in your life, is to take control of the swings. Instead of hanging from the rope and being thrashed around, you can grab the rope and intentionally swing, just like Tarzan would intentionally swing in the jungle. When you want the rope to move and you're trying to swing yourself, that is so much less overwhelming and scary than when you are being swung around. Now, what it looks like psychologically to make this shift is to say to yourself, as part of my growth process, I want to take responsibility for pulling myself out of the I can't version of me anytime that self-doubt starts to creep in. Now, in order for you to get good at doing that, you have to get good at spotting when you are starting to swing towards the I can't version of you. So I want to share with you some common triggers that will cause you to swing into the I can't version of you so that you can get good at spotting that swing before you have swung too far and unintentionally fallen into patterns of self-sabotage and questioning whether you can do it and giving up on your goals and dreams. So let's get into some of those triggers. Number one is the most obvious one, which is you have some sort of fail. Maybe you speak up in a meeting and it doesn't go well. Maybe a stakeholder challenges you and you aren't able to respond effectively. But there are also some more subtle things that can cause you to swing into the I can't version of yourself. And I want to share those so that you can be on the lookout for those as well. So one example is when you haven't had a win in a while. This one is tricky because it's not as obvious as, oh, I had a fail, that didn't go well. It's just kind of this subtle drag in your energy that happens when it's been some time since you've gotten positive feedback or spoken up really effectively or had a moment that gave you that emotional fuel of believing you can do it. And by the way, this is why accountability and mentorship is so important because it keeps you in action. It keeps you from experiencing that stagnation that will have you drifting into the I can't version of yourself. Another thing that can cause you to swing into the I can't version of yourself is when you see someone who is really good at the thing that you are trying to get good at. This one's also really sneaky because it's not an obvious fail, but it is really common to watch someone speak up really confidently or express an idea really effectively. And all of a sudden, your mind starts thinking, oh my gosh, they did it so well. They sounded so good. I could never say it that way. There's no possible way I will ever have the confidence and the voice that I desire. And in that moment, you don't even realize it's happening, but you're swinging into the I can't version of yourself. When you know that these things are going to cause you to swing, you can be on the lookout for this emotional pattern. And in those instances, instead of getting caught up in the despair and frustration of quote unquote, I can't, you can remind yourself that the fastest way to get the thing that you want is to get yourself back in the mindset of I can. And that brings me to the most important part of today's episode, which is how to swing back into I can after you have caught yourself unintentionally swinging towards I can't. And I want to share some powerful steps that will help you do that. So I'm going to share with you the 4 biggest ones, starting with the first one. And this is something that I incorporate a ton when I am working with my clients inside of my program, which is to seek out small, doable wins. When we are in the I can't version of ourselves and we're feeling discouraged, sometimes we need a small, doable win that will help us reignite our belief in our ability to move forward. So I want you to think about what is a meeting or a situation at work where I know that I can do well, I know that I can handle it and do a good job, and I want you to go out and intentionally show up big in that easier situation as a way to start turning things around and get you on the path towards the I can version of yourself. The next thing that will help you swing back into the I can version of yourself is learning a new skill or a new psychological capacity that will help you get through whatever fail or obstacle brought you into the I can't version of yourself. The moment that you see yourself drifting into the I can't version of you, I want you to ask yourself, what skill or what inner psychological capacity do I need to develop so that next time I face that hard situation that I just faced, I know how to handle it well. And instead of it bombing, I can achieve a win. This is what great leaders do. If you observe anyone who's a very successful leader or anyone in the world who has accomplished a lot, you will notice that they have a pattern of, as soon as they fail or something doesn't go well, they immediately ask themselves, what do I need to do to close the gap so that that doesn't happen again, so that I can get good at handling that hard situation? This is something that I want you to practice doing. And the good news is just the process of getting started and the process of saying to yourself, hey, I'm serious about developing this skill, gets you back into the I can version of you. It gives you a surge of motivation and fresh belief in yourself because you've realized that you are now making a promise to yourself to do the work that you need to do to become really good at that difficult situation. Now, the next thing that's on the list of things to do to get you into the I can version of yourself is to seek out accountability. This is so important. After you have some sort of fail or you experience some sort of obstacle, you may have an instinct to isolate and alienate yourself. Now, the problem is, if you do this, you are alone with a brain that is stuck in I can't. And when your brain is stuck in I can't, it's very difficult for you to get yourself out of it. You're trying to get yourself out of I can't with the same brain that is currently stuck in I can't. I'm trying to think of a good analogy for what this is like. It's kind of like having a cutting knife, like a kitchen knife that is so dull, it literally can't cut anything. So you order a new knife on Amazon, and that knife is wrapped in a package, and the only way to open that package is by slicing it open with a knife. And you're trying to slice this package open with the old knife that is too dull to cut open the package containing the new knife. It's not going to work. The old knife doesn't cut. So the same thing can happen to us psychologically. We're in this negative headspace where our mind does not believe that change is possible, and we're trying to use that mind to believe that change is possible. That's going to be really difficult. And the much easier path is for us to bring in an outside mind who does believe that change is possible for us to help pull us out of our own self-doubt and disbelief. So in the knife analogy, that's equivalent to saying, I'm not going to be able to slice open the package containing this new knife with this old knife that I have that is too dull to slice it open. So I need to get help. I need to go to my neighbor and knock on their door and ask them if I can borrow a sharper knife so that I can open this new knife that I ordered. Sometimes the fastest, most efficient path to getting what we want is to get outside help. And for this reason, something that I do often with my clients is I try to help them feel comfortable to bring not just their wins to our weekly sessions, but also their struggles and their failures. Because there's one thing that I know for sure will dramatically support their growth, and that is their ability to seek outside support when they are in that space of I can't. As we become proficient in saying, I feel stuck and I need you to help me get unstuck. I need support. I need you to guide me to get out of this feeling of stuckness. As we get better at asking for help, not only do we get the help we need, but receiving that help helps us learn how to do it for ourselves. One of my favorite things that my clients will often share with me by the end of the program is they'll say, I had a difficult moment at work, but I was able to pull myself out of it and recover really well because I imagined what you would have said to me if I had brought it up in one of our group sessions. So one of the most beautiful things about accountability is it doesn't just help you get unstuck in the present moment. It gives you the tools that you need to get yourself unstuck in the future. Now, there's one more thing that will help you get into the I can version of yourself, And that is learning to take action as the I can version of yourself, even if your mind hasn't psychologically caught up to that point. So a really common experience that people have is they have some sort of fail or some sort of obstacle. Then that takes them into the I can't version of themselves. And they think to themselves, I feel so horrible. So right now, I'm done trying. I'm done speaking up. I'm done exiting my comfort zone. Whatever meeting I have next, I'm not speaking because I just had a fail and I'm in the I can't version of myself. What we don't realize, though, is that we have the power to decide what action we will take, even if our brain is stuck in I can't. And we can decide that we are going to continue speaking up and continue being big and bold, even when our brain is still stuck in I can't. And this is a skill that you have to have as a leader. You have to be able to show up strong and represent yourself and your ideas really effectively in the room, even if emotionally it feels very difficult to do that. This is what's going to help you handle higher pressure, higher stakes, bigger rooms, more intimidating projects. This is the leadership skill that's going to enable you to get to the next level in your career. Now, the amazing thing about learning to take action as the I can version of you, even when psychologically you're still in that negative headspace of I can't, is that your confidence increases drastically as you do this, because you basically watch yourself transform from the version of you who gives up and gets stuck after you fail to the version of you who doubles down and keeps going after you fail. And when you start to see that no matter what difficult obstacle you encounter, you get back up and keep going, you feel so unstoppable and like such a badass inside. A really common misconception that people have is that their confidence is going to grow because they feel amazing walking into the room and then they spoke up and it went well, and so then they feel confident. But the real thing that will grow your confidence are all the moments where you don't feel amazing, where you get knocked down, where you become the I can't version of yourself, and you are able to quickly pull yourself up by your psychological bootstraps and show up strong, even though the moment felt emotionally difficult. There is nothing that will make you feel more powerful and more in control as a leader than the ability to do that. And all of these different suggestions that I gave you to help you get into the I can version of yourself, I want you to think of these as reps that you are practicing. The truth is, bouncing back from I can't and getting yourself back into I can is challenging. It requires work. It requires effort. So I want you to treat this like a long game process that you are gradually getting better and better at, rather than something that you learn once and are immediately going to be perfect at for the rest of your life. That is not how this works. And if you have that expectation, you're going to find yourself frustrated because you feel like you're failing. But if you give yourself time and treat it as a process that you are going through, that is when you're going to set yourself up for real success. Now, if you want me to support you in learning how to bounce back from the I can't version of you and show up as the I can version of you, even in situations that feel challenging, I want to invite you to come work with me inside of the Art of Speaking Up Academy. One of the best things about this program is that I go beyond teaching you how to speak like a leader. So yes, I'm going to teach you executive communication so that you can speak in a way that's polished and crisp. But even more importantly, I'm going to guide you through the inner work of building confidence and emotional resilience so that anytime you drift into the I can't version of you, you are able to quickly bounce back into the I can version of you and speak up in that room and represent you and your work super powerfully. If you are ready to experience this transformation, mark your calendar. Enrollment opens Friday, December 5th. If you are interested in this program and applications haven't opened yet, go listen to episode 391 of the Art of Speaking Up podcast. This is a deep dive episode where I take you through a tour of the Art of Speaking Up Academy and teach you what you learn inside of this program, how it will help you build confidence and resilience and a super effective voice. And I answer some of the most commonly asked questions that I get about this program so that you can figure out if this is the right space for you. That is episode 391. I will link it in the show notes. And when you're ready to apply to the Art of Speaking Up Academy, go to jessguzikcoaching.com/academy or click the link in the show notes to apply. I can't wait to read your application and I can't wait to work with you inside of the program. I hope you have an amazing day, an amazing week, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.